Greetings, Patrick here from Have Cheetah Will View, and welcome to Dollar Theater, the Voters Edition, which is an offshoot of regular Dollar Theater, but in this case, you guys vote from 4 films I put up every week, and you pick the films that you want to see me and the Cheetah watch and review. So August, we decided to do some action and adventure, and yeah, so I put up 4 films. We put up Ender's Game, Harrison Ford, Ben Kingsley, Asa Butterfield, Haley Stansfield. I mean, it's a great movie. I got Lone Survivor featuring Mark Wahlberg, Eric Bana, and Ben Foster. Very action-packed, to say the least. A classic from the 90s, Navy SEALs. This came out in 1990 with Charlie Sheen and Michael Biehn. And then I picked the last one. I picked up the director's version of Leon the Professional with 25 added minutes. And there's a story behind that. And how would we know there's a story behind it? Because this is the movie we'll be talking about, Leon the Professional. Wow. So this is a really well-known movie. Well, at least I like to think it still is, but it did come out in 1994, and so in today's world, that's actually ancient. Today's movie watcher, 1994 is ancient. So we'll just talk about the films, the plot line for a couple of minutes, which is Leon, who's played by Jean Reno, is a hitman, Italian-American hitman based in New York, and he is a cleaner, in other words, an assassin. And so he does jobs for Tony, Big Tony, and so he's very good at his job, very good. And one of the things he does is that he lives really under the grid. He lives in really basically flop houses. He bases himself out of there, so it's very hard to find him if you're looking for him. And considering that what he does, for how much money he does, you think that he'd be living a much higher life, but he doesn't. He's a very simple man with an incredibly gifted skill of taking people out. So he is living next to an apartment that features a dysfunctional family. You have an abusive father, a stepmother that doesn't care, a stepsister that cares even less, and a little 4-year-old brother. And then you have Matilda, who is 12 years old, played by Natalie Portman, and she is feeling left out about everything. She is rambunctious and rebellious, and when we meet her, she is sitting there watching Leon go to his apartment, and she's smoking at 12 years old. So Leon comes by, talks to her for a little bit, and tells her to quit smoking, and she asks him not to tell anybody. So we see there's a passing acquaintance, and then her dad comes out and slaps her. That's her dad, and we find out the dad is actually is working with a team of DEA agents who are corrupt, led by Stansfield, who is played by Gary Oldman. And so they go to talk to the dad, and they say, hey, we gave you this cocaine here, and it was like 100% pure. Now we retested it, and all of a sudden this now it's only 90%. So basically what he's done, he's been skimming from them, selling on the side, which is a bad thing to do, to anybody, because they're going to probably react the same way. But even worse, when it's the DEA who can get away with crushing, killing you legally. So that's where we meet Stansfield and his team, and they come on there, and they tell him that, hey, if they try to give him a way out, they trying to sit there and say, hey, if you've done this, if you cut our product, I think they would have worked with him, as far as like, you owe us what you sold or what you stole. But he denies it. He says, I didn't do anything like that. And so Stanfield says, well, you're going to have to find out who did that then. And you have till noon, till noon the next day. So, then we see the day go by. We see Leon doing his thing. He lives a very solitary life, very contained. The next day, Matilda goes to the grocery store, and when she does, that's when the Stansfield and his team comes in, and they basically lay waste to everybody. They kill everybody. They kill the entire family, except for Matilda. Matilda comes back. She walks by. She sees her dad dead in the hallway. She sees the policeman, DEA agents, and she sees her dad. So she knows that that's not a good thing. So she just keeps walking to Leon's door with the groceries, like she belongs there, and we see her just hanging on by a hair, before she's discovered, because she's crying. Well, Leon takes her in, and that begins their relationship. This is an interesting movie to watch from that standpoint. I think it starts off a little, director Luc Besson, who also wrote the script as well. I know some people say, well, this is just French, French style. I don't know. It really went weird. It went from, seeing Leon and Matilda, it almost looked like they're starting like a father-daughter relationship. You see, he rescues her, when they, after he's treating her like a father figure. But that slides. The relationship starts sliding. And it does become a little uncomfortable watching. And because, she's obviously enamored of him, and he isn't really, his resistance is not, other than one scene where he doesn't know what to do. And, he's trying to figure it out. He even goes so far as to consider killing her. So that would end the problem. But he doesn't, obviously. But the relationship between the two of them, he's starting to teach her how to become a cleaner. So, teaching her weapons and teaching her shooting skills and how to get away and all those other tricks of the trade. But she develops a crush on him, and whereas you think that it would just be immediately rebuffed by Leon, immediately, it really doesn't. And you could definitely see it sliding toward territory that's pretty dark, including Matilda basically, saying, hey, you're going to learn how to sleep in a bed. Okay, that's, because he sleeps in a chair basically with one eye open, but now he's going to sleep in the bed. Okay, that's not a bad thing, but she's in the same bed with him, and it's just a weird dynamic. I guess it's because Leon is socially innocent, socially naive. If you look at it now, you could almost say that he's autistic in a sense. He's on the spectrum. He doesn't really have that good social skills. He just knows one thing. He knows how to one thing to do it and do it really well. In fact, his closest friend is a plant. That's his. He loves this plant, and that tells you he doesn't really have anybody at all he can talk to, and so that and then of course Matilda is also growing up as well. Now there's some continuity issues with this film that I found really weird. It's after Matilda and Leon leave the apartment, it showcases many days of the it gives the impression of weeks. That they've moved to two different hotels since they left. They moved to two different hotels, And so it was sort of weird to see. And they go practice shooting. They practice the gun techniques. I mean, it gives you a sense of time has passed. And more important, I think they did that was to show that Matilda is growing up. She's not the same naive little 12-year-old. Now she's an older, more mature 12-year-old with, has skills. But really what's confusing about that is she goes back to her apartment just to see, and it looked like the crime had just happened yesterday. They still had yellow tape up there. They still had a police officer in front of it. I mean, that crime scene would have been cleaned up in a couple of days. But it's been supposedly been weeks. So that was a little confusing. She gets inside and she's able to find her father's stash. Father had, she knew where her dad kept the money. So she was able to go in there and get some $20,000 because she wants to hire Leon to take care of the men who killed her family. And she starts the ball rolling. She starts tracking them down. And then Stanfield does catch her, but doesn't really realize exactly what he's caught. He knows that this is not a good, like the girl came in loaded for bear. He wants to know why. But before we find that out, we find out that Leon has started the offensive against Stansfield after getting the note from Matilda that she has tracked Stansfield down. So Leon goes to war. He kills one of Stanfield's teams. He finds out Matilda's at a room on the DEA agent floor. He goes in there, kills two more Stansfield teams, and he rescues Matilda. Of course, that leads Stansfield to try to find Leon, and he happens to know the one link that he has, and that's with Big Tony. And Big Tony has to give him up, and so that's where we see the final fight. And that's a rough watch to watch now, because we know Stansfield has his team is corrupt as hell. But what we don't know is the police officers that responded to Leon, and where he's at. A lot of them get killed by Leon because they capture Matilda. They're thinking they're acting on the behalf of Stansfield's team in support. There's never any indication that they knew or were part of Stansfield's organization. So when these cops are getting up there and they're getting, they're just getting killed. You don't know. It's like if they're bad cops, yay, but if they're good cops, it's rough because they're basically being killed and they have no idea why they're dying. And so you get the feeling that maybe they're bad, maybe, but maybe not. We really don't know. And then we get, as soon as the teams start getting wiped out, Stansfield yells, they'll get everybody, respond all the cops to the scene. And of course, has the most, has a famous ending where, Leon's on his way out to meet her. He's wounded, he's hurt, and Stansfield finds him, and and they both pay their respects to each other. They go out with a blaze of glory. It's been a minute since I watched this film, and the extra 25 minutes of the film is called the director's cut. And Luc Besson himself said that it's not really a director's cut. What I put out is what I wanted to put out, and they added the 25 minutes to it, and it said it's too explicit for the American audience. There's nothing in the movie at all that's in the added section, which is basically in the middle third of the film. There's nothing there objectionable. Maybe the scene of Leon sleeping in the bed, but again, it's but it's nothing. It's I don't know. It's up to you. You have to decide whether how it makes you feel. It just Natalie Portman was 12 years old when she made the film. Not only is her character 12 years old, but Natalie Portman was. And this is her first film. She was 12 years old at the time, and Jean Reno was 45. So, I mean, yes, definitely a father figure. So it was, it's a great performance by her. Natalie Portman, you could definitely see why, she became as successful as she has been. Of course, Gary Oldman has won an Oscar. He's trying to be one of our greatest actors. Jean Reno is one of our greater actors too. Man, if you really want to see Jean Reno kick ass in such a cool character, watch the Da Vinci Code. Man, he's badass in that movie, that's for sure. And of course, he also went on for American audiences as he also was the one saving grace of Godzilla, 1998. Luc Besson. Luc Besson has become a very good director and producer. Now, a lot of people have commented, like, how come we never got a sequel? Because while the movie did modestly well at the theater, it cost $16 million to make. Man, if they made the same movie today in New York City, it's got to be at least $60 to $70 million. I mean, and I'm just guesstimating that. But it made over $45 million. And people wanted to know, well, how come we've never gotten a follow-up to that movie? And politics. Gaumont, what's his name, distributing company in France, they were working with Luc Besson I think they wanted to work with Luc Besson, but they did, and he left their deal or what have you. But they retained the rights to The Professional, and they won't give Luc Besson the time of day as far as getting it back. They're holding on to it. It's like, it's being very petty. So that's the reason why we didn't get an official follow, following Matilda. But Luc Besson said that they did in a sense do an unofficial sequel, but they called it Columbiana, which starred the young lady from Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh my gosh, what was that? It's not Zoe Saldana. Is it Zoe Saldana? Yeah, it is. It's Zoe Saldana. Okay. I'm not going crazy yet. And so Columbiana basically had the same premise. She's a hit woman. She had her family wiped out. It's the unofficial sequel to Leon the Professional. This is a great film. I mean, gosh, so many star-making turns in it. Matilda, Natalie Portman, Gary Oldman. I dare say Gary Oldman is known as much for playing Stansfield as he is anything else. I mean, this really was like the launching pad for him as far as becoming just a mega star. And of course, Jean Reno, he's an international star as well. He does French movies, he does American movies. He's very popular. And and I mentioned Luc Besson. Luc Besson is also developed some more stars as well. He's a very good star maker, by the way. A lot of his movies star, like, I personally feel like he launched Jason Statham with the Transporter series. I mean, Jason Statham, gave him a starring, for a leading man role. And of course, the Transporter series is tremendously, it's a lot of fun, and made Jason Statham a household name. Very much like Natalie Portman became here in Leon the Professional. But yeah, that's it. I enjoyed the movie. Oh my gosh, this is definitely action packed, and with the extra minutes added, it does slow the pace, and that's probably why I had never seen the director's cut, which is why I chose this version to watch. But if I was going to watch the version after this, I would just go with the theatrical version, because you're not going to miss out anything, and it'll make the movie move a lot faster. All right, well, that is it for Leon the Professional. Wow, 20 minutes. Pretty good. Well, Well, thanks for watching, and we're going to come out with another 4 action and adventure movies and let you guys vote on that. Yeah, let's keep this ball rolling. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of Leon the Professional. If you liked it or a fan of it or not, drop a comment down below. And yeah, and we will see you for the next one.